Yeah, Assalamu alaikum. I'm audible? Yeah, can you guys hear me? Yes, thank you. So I'm Minna Sanas from Mathare. Today I'm doing a free session on literature, mainly to discuss about the structure of the paper. So yeah, so when we consider English literature, so English is different from what it is in literature, right? So English is about the basic grammar, the tenses, right? The essays, notes, paragraphs, those things, right? Paragraph writing, letter writing, those is what you get in English paper, right? Which is a general paper for all the students to do. But literature, English literature, comes under a bucket, right? So it comes under a basket or bucket, in other words. So where you can choose this as a subject. So other than that, we have arts, right? And then Arabic is there, and also English literature is there. So these are the main subjects the school students select. So when you select English literature, you should know about what it is in English literature. So so we have novels, poetry, drama, then we have short stories. In other words, we also call that as prose, right? And all of these contents we have in literature have specific themes, or in other words, genre. Example, we have thriller, right? We have sci-fi, that is scientific fiction. Then we have romance, horror, comedy. It's like same as the film, okay, films and cinema. But film and cinema, the audience in it is different from the audience who read. So these English literature is about reading. So any book lover will love English literature. So we have Shakespeare, John Donne, then who else? Like all these writers, famous writers. The famous of all time is obviously William Shakespeare, right? Like, and also we have different languages. So here it's about English literature, but not only in English, even Tamil literature is there. Sinhala literature is there, Arabic literature is there, Korean literature is there, Chinese literature is there. In all the languages in the world, it has its own literature, which is about the study of the old English or the old language they have. So when you consider English literature, so specifically about your paper, so you have two parts, part one and part two. Okay, so in part one, you will get 40 marks if you do properly, because this whole paper consists of 100 marks. The whole literature paper, it's not like history. History has 200 marks, but in literature, it has only 100 marks. So for the part one, you will have 40, and part two, 60. So 40 plus 60, 100 marks. So that is how you'll get the total score in this paper. And then, so when we consider literature part one paper, there you have two sessions. So first section is about context questions. In other words, we say these things as context questions. So which is, so in other papers, so in other, okay, please be muted. It can be convenient if that's so. So yeah, so if it's other papers, which is like history, then we have health science, Islam, right? Science, all the other subjects without max, unless it's math, all the other subjects has MCQs in it. MCQs in a sense, they'll be giving a sentence with four options, and you have to select the appropriate or the most suitable answer for that. But in English literature, there you won't be getting options. You will be the one who should write the answer, which is like one word answer, but that is what they ask. So that is what we call as context questions. Okay, context questions. They are the first one. So in the past, like before 2019, 2020, okay, before those years, so from 2016 to 2020, all these papers were not classified. Like in the part two paper, they classify and give the questions because it's critical essays to be answered, right? But in part one, they don't classify as poetry, prose, drama, and novel. But they just give randomly where you have to do everything in part one. But in the recent past, like from 2021, 2022, 2023, and even 2024, all these papers were given. So not 2024, which is your batch, right? Probably. So because 2024, 2025 batches will be writing the exam soon, right? Inshallah in December. So the thing is, like nowadays they are dividing the paper. They are dividing the part one, that is part one, session A, as prose, poetry, and drama. So when you consider poetry, so you'll be given with 4 questions, okay, 4 or 5 questions. You'll get 5 marks out of it. So 10 marks out of it. So it's like you have to answer 2 context questions in poetry, which is compulsory, and you'll get 5 from each part. So you'll be writing 2 from poetry. That is how you'll get 10 marks from it. And then in prose, it's the same, 10 marks. 2 questions should be answered. In drama, it's the same. So the questions in these context questions, the part or the section A will be like, who is the writer of these above lines? And what is the situation there, or the literary technique, and the use of that literary technique? That is what they ask. So I have added some context questions after the paper discussion, so we can do. So you'll get used to how the questions are being asked. So that is about section A, which is very compulsory for you all to do. You can't skip, you can't select. And then it is the section B. So here you have 3 novels. So in your syllabus, you are given with 3 novels, which is Prince and the Pauper, Bring Tony Home, and When Rough Sweets, right? So you are given with 3 novels, where in your school they'll be selecting one, or maybe in some school they select 2, because if the question for the essay becomes hard, you can choose the other one. But mostly uh, it's only one novel we can do. Like in the end of the season, you will not have enough time to do 2 novels. So most, like, probably they'll only do 1 novel in the schools. But in classes, they do even all the 3. Okay, so there in that type of context questions, so you'll be getting 10 marks there. So all of these should be answered properly, like with sentences or with proper phrases should be written. That is how you'll get marks. So if it's Vendra Sweets, the questions will, like, a paragraph from the text will be given, where you have to find the situation of that paragraph, like what's happening or when it is happening, the literary technique, and also some words, vocabulary will be asked, where you have to write your own meaning of it. Okay, so that is how they ask the context question in this, the novels. And yeah, so when you consider poems in your syllabus, there are 20 poems, 20 poems with 5 themes. So that is what comes over here. So they have given you 5 themes starting from nature. So in nature poetry, you will have to the Nile. Then you have a bird came to the rock. Then you have the eagle, and also to the evening star, right? So, and then when you consider the conflict poems, what are the poems under conflict? Yeah. Anyone who know the pattern of the uh, poems they have given? Like it'll be interactive if you reply me back. Yes? Anyone? Yeah, so I was asking the poems in the syllabus, so you should know what are the poems they have given, right? So what are the poems under the theme conflict? Theme conflict. Because this is very important for you all to know. So on the theme nature, you have to the evening star. Then you have a bird came by the walk. Then you have the eagle, and then to the evening star, right? So those are the poems under nature. And then when you consider the theme of conflict, yeah, you're correct. We have the poem Voice Kind, right? And then we have the poem Terrorist is Watching, right? Terrorist is Watching, Farewell to One and Stuck Country, and also Breakfast, right? So that is under the theme conflict. And then when you consider the theme society, you have Once Upon a Time, then I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, then you have Richard Cory, Big Match. Big Match comes under society. Okay, it's not under conflict. Society. And after Big Match, you have theme which is life. So under life, you have The Earthen Goblet, Father and Son, Fear, and The Clown's Wife. And obviously under the theme humor, you have The Camel's Hump, which is a very humorous poem, right? Camel's Hump, Upside Down, The Huntsman, and Two's Company. So you have 5 poems under each of these themes, right? 5 poems. So totally you have 20 poems under the poetry. And then when you consider drama, so when you consider drama, you have 2 dramas to select, right? So it's like anyway, you have to read both the dramas because that will come for the MCQ, that is for the context questions, right? But in the essay, in the critical essay, you can select one and do it directly without focusing on both. Okay, so you have 2 dramas, which is To Light of a Crane and The Bear, right? So obviously you should know the writer's name. So if it's Bear, who's the writer? The author of the drama Bear, The Bear, The Bear by Anton Chekhov. Yeah, exactly. Right? And then when we consider the prose, so there you have 4 proses given, starting from The Nightingale and the Rose, which is a very good story. If like mostly people who are young, the youngsters, fall in love, right? Fall in love, and they don't know the worth of getting into that conflict, right? So I'll say that as a conflict because it is obviously a conflict, right? So that is about it. Like it's more into studies than falling into traps, right? So that is Nightingale and the Rose by Oscar Wilde, right? And then we have the Khalid Khan lecture, or we can say the Lahore attack by Kumar Sangakkara, who's a famous cricketer in Sri Lanka, right? And then we have the Lumber Room by Saki, and then obviously Wave by Sonali Dharaniyagala, who is again a Sri Lankan, right? So that those are the prose they have given. In other words, it's actually short stories. So example, Lumber Room and Nightingale and the Rose are short stories. But when you consider Wave and Lahore Attack, those are extract. Extract means it's a book or a speech where only a part or only a chapter is been given to you all. So if you all want to read the whole novel, you can always go and read. So example, The Wave, that's a novel. It's a huge novel. It's not novella, it's a novel. Okay. And when you consider the Lahore attack, the Khalid lecture, that is a speech given by Kumar Sangakkara, right? And he discusses more about patriotism and how he loved Sri Lanka, and obviously about his cricket, right? Those are the things under prose, and then obviously novel. So the novels such as Vendrop Suite and Prince and the Pauper are big books, right? So we call them as novel. But Bringing Tony Home is a small one. So we actually call that as a novella. Novella. Okay, so anyway, you have all those 3 as novels in our syllabus. So that is how the structure of the paper goes. Okay, so for each, so here in the part 2 paper, you have to select one from all these 3. Sorry, all these 4. So one poem should be selected here, which will have 15 marks. 15 marks of one essay under any theme you select. And even in drama, you have to select one from the 2 given, right? In prose, from the 4 given, you have to select one. And then in novel, you will be given 3 questions, critical essay questions. You have to select one from that. So according to your school or like what you were taught or which novel you were taught, you can select one. So that is how you get marks. So the marks for one essay is 15. Yeah, I'll be finishing at around 6 or 6:15 because I started around 5:15. Right? So in novels, you will be getting 15 marks. So you should know the structure or the marks criteria they give, right? So when you consider this essay type of questions, so they will be getting 15 marks. So it goes as call. Okay, so call means C means content. Like content means the things you give as message or information, which should be from your own perspective, not from the internet, not from the ChatGPT, okay, or not from anywhere else. It should be your own. So you can like always you can go and refer in Google. Okay, like you can get information, but the format you write should be your own version. You shouldn't like copy the whole text they give in the internet in your answer script. Because teachers, we know that whether this person have written by himself, or else is it a copied version of somewhere, from somewhere, right? So C means content, like the content or the information you give, content. And then O means organization. Organization, like how your structure of the paper is, like whether the essay is with paragraphs, right? And you should have an introduction, body paragraphs, and also a conclusion with also quotation included, right? Quotation should be included throughout the essay. So that is how they see whether you have organized your essay, like whether it's well planned, right? So when example, when you make a cup of coffee or tea, right? You should have a cup, you should have a kettle to boil the water, right? And you should have sugar, milk, right? And also tea powder if it's tea, coffee powder if it's coffee. If you're organized with this only, you can make the thing you wanted. If it's coffee, you can make coffee. If it's tea, you can make tea, right? So that is organization. The same thing should be there in essays too. And obviously language. L means language, like the vocabulary you use, the grammatical mistakes you have in your essay, like the structure, the vocabulary, and maybe synonyms and prepositions, right? All the grammar things. And also, they also look for proverbs, like any kind of information you can give through the topic. And also, always the essay you write should be relevant to the topic they give. So if they are asking about a particular theme, it should revolve around that question. Your essay should revolve around that essay topic they have given. So if they have asked, so let's say if it's from the poem Voice Kind, so that poem is about war, right? Like the glorification of war. It's one of the main theme in that poem, right? So if they ask about that, you have to write about that, focusing on that, rather than discussing about the literary techniques. Like you can add one or two that this signifies or it glorifies what the author wants to say. But you can't revolve around techniques, but you have to revolve around or more like focus more on the theme they ask or the question they ask us to write on. So in the marks 15, you'll get 7 for content. So it's very important you score here. 7 marks will be for the content. And then for the organization, it will be 4. And even for language, it's 4. So I don't know what is the marks you get at school, but let's say if you get 4.5 or 5, okay, 4.5 or 5 in the context, in your answer script that you have written so far, that's really good. That means you can, like, if you make yourself answer more questions in the future, you can get a high grade in the final exam. And for organization, maybe 3. 3 is a good marks for that. And even for language, 3. 3.5 maybe. So if you score like this, like anyway in literature, they won't give you 15 out of 15. That is never gonna happen to anyone. If it's happening to anyone, that means that she or he is really great in handling with words. Okay, but maybe you can get around 11, 12, even 13. Okay, like if you score that marks at school, that means you can do your very best in the upcoming days and get a high grade in the result. So, but the thing is, like, even if you scored less than, let's say, even if you score around 5 or 6, it doesn't matter. The only thing you need is practice, because English literature is like maths. But maths has theory and you can write the answer through that. But in literature, there's no theory. You have to identify your own theory. Your own language should be there to get a good grade in literature, English literature. So did you understand the structure of the paper? Yes. Yes. Did you understand the structure? If you have any doubts on the structure, you can let me know. Because it's very important. We all to know the structure to do anything. Without knowing about the challenge, how can you face the challenge? Right? So you have to know about the challenge before you face it. Okay, so we'll do some context questions then. So before that, yeah, this is how the syllabus goes for grade 10 and 11. So in poetry, you have this. Can you use the topic of a poem or short story as a proof in the analysis? So topic of a poem or prose as a proof in the analysis. So you mean you want me to discuss about a poem or something? Is that so? I thought of discussing some context questions because that is very hard to tackle. Okay, so in poetry, prose, so these are the things they give. Okay, like, so this is the structure. You might have seen this very thing in the end of your book, in your appreciation for English literature, in that book. So I have given this, so you will be able to look what and what is there. And then some context questions. We'll start with this, right? I hope you have done these poems, because some teachers at school, they go according to the syllabus which I have given in the before slide, but some teachers, they go according to their wish, because if they don't get the government papers or the province papers, they go as their wish. But if they are getting government papers to do as like for the term exams, then they should go according to syllabus. Okay, question number 1 here. And I wish you luck come lemon's tide at racing on the green. So what is the poem? So name the work. Work means the poem in which these lines appear. Name the writer. So what is the poem here and who's the writer? Yes. Any answers? Yeah. You guys have studied this, right? And I wish you luck. Come Lemon's tide at racing on the green. Should I name someone? Tiloshini? Yeah. Zainab?
From the
Yes.
poem, from the poem Travel to Barn and Stuck Country.
Yeah, exactly, right? So it's from the poem Farewell to Born and Stuck Country by A.E. Houseman,
Okay.
right? So the thing is, like when you write answers in context questions, it should be written in the form they give in the text. So if it's Farewell to Born and Stuck Country, so if you have noticed these capital letters, so it's like Farewell is F capital, right? Farewell to Born B capital, Born and is written in simple, Stuck S capital, and is again written in simple, and then T capital, right? So that is how you have to write Farewell to Born and Stuck Country with the exact capitation from the textbook they have given. Farewell to Born and Stuck Country by A.E. Houseman. Like generally we write the names in capital letters, right? The first letter should be capital for names. That is simple grammar you should know. And that is about capitation, right? So A.E. Houseman, that is there. So that is the answer you have to write. And also, if you want, you can put quotation because this is not my or yours, right? Because this was not written by me or nonetheless, it's yours, right? It's by someone else. It's by A.E. Houseman. So you have to respect that he wrote this. So you have to put that within like quotations by A.E. Houseman. Okay, Fab to Burn and Stuck Country by A.E. Houseman. Then, who speaks these lines? Yeah. So who speaks these above lines? Yes. Yeah, it's Maurice's brother. In other words, you can say the poet. Both the answers are correct. So that is just the same thing we have given. Okay, that is correct. Then, to whom are they spoken? To whom are they spoken? Is to the dead brother, right? Like the person who has died in the field. That is whom the poet is speaking to, or the Maurice's brother is speaking to. Yeah, you can say the poet's friend too. Okay. Then the next one. What is Lemon's Tide? What tone does the speaker use in talking about it? So what is Lemon's Tide first? Yeah. What is Lemon's Tide? Lemon's Tide is a harvesting festival or the ceremony right after harvesting is done. Right? Because this happens in a rural environment, right? In a farming environment, an agricultural land. So Lemon's Tide is a ceremony the farmers do after they harvest. Okay, so that is what you had right. So what students do is, so as you have answered this question, some people leave this part. They forget. It's unfortunate, but still they forget this. So what will happen is you will get low marks if you skip these parts. if you miss these parts. So make sure you read the same question and again and then do. So you have written the meaning for Lemmenstein, and then maybe in the next very line you can start writing the answer for this question, which is what tone does the speaker use in talking about it? So what is the tone he uses here? Yeah, true. Like in the 2 marks you are given here. So it's like 1, 1, 1, and 2 marks. That is how you get for these 4 questions, right? A 1 marks, B 1 marks, C 1 marks, D 2 marks. So even if you write only one answer in this, you get 1, but you are missing 1 marks again, right? Because even 1 marks, even half a marks in literature is very important. Maybe that will get you a B if you lose 1 marks or half marks, right? Yeah, the tone used here is sorrow, regret, regretful tone. Or also you can say it's a guilty, conscious tone, right? That's the answers you can give there. See, these are direct answers you can give. Then the next context question. He watches from his mountain walls, and like a thunderbolt, he falls. Yeah, what is nostalgic? So nostalgic means, so let's say you're now in grade 10 or 11, right? Which is like quite older, right? So suddenly, if you go to your old house, maybe, or to your old school, or when you remember, like maybe your old purse, okay, when you look at your old purse, you will get all the memories when you were small, right? You will just reminisce these things that happened in the past. That is nostalgic. And some people, when they feel this feeling, they also get this vomitish feeling. They just get nauseous about thinking those things. Like it's a happy, but as also it's sad. It's kind of bittersweet moment, right? That is what we call as nostalgic. That is, yeah, it's remembering of past memories in a form of an object or a thing, or maybe a person. So it's like the friends you have now currently in your school will not be the friends you had in the past. Like they change, right? Seasonal changes. It's obvious to everyone. Like there are some maybe 1 or 2 friends who are with you right now, but mostly you'll not be together, right? That is nature of human. So if you suddenly see a boy or a girl who you studied with in the past, maybe in grade 1 or 2, then you will have this sudden burst of energy or burst of sorrow, burst of happiness in your heart, in deep down of your heart, right? That is nostalgic. If you see something or someone or an object or thing, whatever it is, you feel these things that happened in the past, right? That is what we call as nostalgic. It's a nice feeling to feel. I usually get, so as I left the school, like I have done my studies, right? So left the school, like if I go to a sports meet or maybe any function, like colors night or whatever it is, I get this nostalgic feeling, like because the school will be the same thing. Maybe they have painted new things, maybe a tree would have grown, right? But still it's my school that I go to, right? So that is nostalgic. Okay, so we'll go to this context number 2. He watches from his mountain walls, and like a thunderbolt he falls. So name the work in which these lines appear and name the writer. So what is the poem? Yes. The Eagle by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Yeah, obviously it's the Eagle, a fragment, right? Fragment. Alfred Lord Tennyson by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Oh, just you can write the Eagle. Even here you have to notice the and eagle. E should be capital. T here and E here should be capital. The Eagle, and then by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Or even, yeah, it's better if you write in one line than even if this is 2 questions, It's better if you write in one line. No problem in that. You'll get 1 marks there. But if you leave, so here, even here, if you write the eagle only, you'll get only half a marks because you have missed the writer's name, which is very important for any literature student. That happens, right? Like maybe you'll get confused with other writer's name, whereas you just forget the writer's name of this particular poem. So if that happens, you'll get only half a marks here, not get 1 marks. They won't just see you in a sympathetic manner and give you marks. They never give these things. Even 1 marker gives that, the next marker who corrects your paper will not leave those things. He will just put 0 or maybe half there. Okay, then who is referred to as he? So who is referred to as he here? Yeah, it's the eagle. Yeah, it's the eagle. Yeah, some teachers, maybe your teacher does that because she makes you conscious about you not writing. So even if you write only 1 answer, she doesn't give marks, right? So make sure you write the whole thing, right? Because that is how the question is. You have to write the whole thing, right? And then, where is he? So who is referred to as he is the eagle, right? It's the eagle there. And where is he? He's in the top of the mountain, at the top of the mountain. Yeah, it's a random mountain, so it's a mountain, right? Then, if it's a particular mountain, you can say the mountain, right? I hope you have studied about these grammatical things, the basic grammar, like where you should use those things. It's very important because in literature they notice everything. Okay, then what impact is created by the last line? So here the last line is like a thunderbolt he falls. What is the impact or what is the effect it gets to us? What is the effect of it? What is the impact to us? It's a sudden impact. Yeah, it's a speedy impact, right? It's a speedy one or a sudden impact. Yeah, in other words, it's very rushful. In other words, thunderbolt is it's very hard, like it's very rough. And also you can notice these techniques, right? Like is simile, and he is a metaphor in this poem. Yeah, here they haven't asked you about the techniques here, but I was just giving you some extra knowledge on that. And then, yeah, I think I have discussed 2 contexts. I'll give you some idea on the critical essays. And then if we have time, we'll go back to the context, okay? So when we consider critical essays, so essays should be written with at least 5 paragraphs. So normally you write the answers in a script paper, which will be a CR paper or a single rule paper, right? A CR version of a single rule paper, right? So that is what you should be writing in. And also you can get this sheets from the shops. Like it's around 250, 255, something like that. It's for this kind of answering. Okay, so you can get those and practice writing on those than writing in books, because if it's books, it's really hard for you to turn and do those, like read again, like to correct yourself. And it's very much recommended for you to write essays daily, at least 1 per day. Per day, any topic, any poem, any prose, any drama, okay, anything about anything, any essay question, practice at least 1 per day. And make sure you give them for a person who can correct those. Okay, because it's very important to do those. So the poem Richard Cory reflects The realities of different social class do agree, explained with reference to text. So, here I don't know whether you have studied the poem Richard Cory, because this comes in grade 11 syllabus. Have you all done that? Yeah? Yes, okay. So Richard Cory is a poem about reality versus appearances versus reality, right? So where Richard Cory himself suicides in the end, right? And we are not known about the reasons there. So reflects the realities of different social class. So here we have social class such as poor and rich in the poem. So that is what you have to discuss there. Do you agree? So you have to agree. You have to prove that you agree. You don't need to say that I agree. Okay, I don't need to say that, but you have to prove that you are agreeing or you are disagreeing about this statement. So and then you have to obviously give quotation from the poem to discuss about that theme. So introduction should be written, then maybe at least three body paragraphs, right? And also a conclusion. Conclusion can be at least 2 to 3 lines. No need to build a paragraph. Okay, that is about Richard Cory. Then I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. So I don't know whether you know this story. Have you done this poem at school? Yes, it's very good that you did, because this poem is about the Afro-American lifestyle and how they were tortured and stuff. And also personally, this is about Maya Angelou, right? It is actually a autobiography. So it's like Maya Angelou was at the age of 16, okay, at the age of 16, she was raped. Because she was raped, that is what she reflects in the poem. So by using the metaphor, which is the caged bird or the free bird, she symbolizes it's with the black people and the white people, and discusses the poem about her life through that poem. So the question is, in the poem I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, Maya Angelou uses the symbol of a caged bird to discuss the universal condition of women in society. True, right? So it discusses about a universal concept of women, like how women are treated, especially the black women. So that is what they are asking here. Then, so we have to give, again, you have to give an introduction paragraph, three body paragraphs, and then a conclusion, right? And then the poem Voice Fine by Stephen Crane, right? He discusses about the human beings who are most affected by war. So it is a war poem. So here they're asking the victims about the victim's point of view. So if it's the victim number one, there is the lover, right, the maiden. And then the victim number two is the father. The father is dead, so the son is affected, the victim number two, right? And then we have the mother whose son is dead in the field, right? So they discuss about how the victims, the human victims, are being affected by war. Than the person who died, it is the person who's the family or the relative of the victim is the most victim, right? So that is that. And then the sad destiny for couch potato culture is universalized through the Camel's Hump. So Camel's Hump is a poem about laziness, right? So that is what I have given as couch potato, because couch potatoes are people who just sit and have food, have fun, but they are too lazy to move around. So it's a universal theme, right? So because everyone around the world are lazy. So that is what I have given as topics. And then, okay, at first I tried to ask whether I could use the topics as proofs for analysis. Topics in a sense, the uh, essay topic they are giving, right? Like as the title suggests, this poem is, yeah. Yeah, you can use that. You can say no problem in that. Welcome. So yeah, so we'll stop for the day, and I hope you understood. Yeah, how was it? And give me feedbacks in the group. It will be very helpful with the feedback. And thank you, Zainab, that you were messaging, so it was kind of interactive. Thank you for that. And also, if you want to register to my classes, you can contact the Web2 admin. So he'll discuss further about it. Thank you. Thank you. All the best for exams. Okay then. Assalamu alaikum.